Greetings, viewers. As part of Module 3 requirements for the GED110, also known as People in Earth Ecosystem, we are tasked to make a video to give awareness to people about the negative anthropogenic effects towards the environment. Sharing is the goal of this video to not just raise awareness, but to also give information. This video consists of four contents, consisting first, the biogeochemical cycle married with ecological reservoir or environment. Second is anthropogenic. Third is invasive species. Fourth is epigenetics. So let's first tackle on biogeochemical cycle married with ecological reservoir or environment. Biogeochemical cycle married with ecological reservoir or environment. The word biogeochemical, with bio standing for life and geo for earth, that both came from a Greek word. So biogeochemical cycle involve non-living and living components. In ecology and earth science, a biogeochemical cycle, or substance turnover or cycling of substances, is a pathway by which a chemical substance moves through biotic, the living components, and abiotic, the non-living compartments of earth. There are biogeochemical cycles for the chemical elements calcium, carbon, hydrogen, mercury, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, selenium, iron and sulfur, molecular cycles for water and silica, macroscopic cycles such as the rock cycle, as well as human-induced cycles for synthetic compounds such as polychlorinated biphenyl or PCB. Proceeding to the biogeochemical cycles. First is the water or hydrological cycle, second is the oxygen cycle, third is the sedimentary cycle, fourth is the phosphorus cycle, fifth is the nitrogen cycle, sixth is the carbon cycle, seventh is the sulfur cycle. We are just focusing on the water or hydrological cycle. Proceeding to the processes involved. The processes of a hydrological cycle includes the heating of the liquid to turn gas and evaporate, or by other means transpiration, which is similar to evaporation, but with water coming from leaves of plants, then condensing to form clouds and eventually precipitating to bodies of water and land through rainfall, and the cycle repeats. Proceeding to ecological reservoir. Ecological reservoir are non-living components of ecosystems where chemicals accumulate. These ecological reservoirs are large abiotic nutrient stores. These reservoirs may contain water, nitrogen, phosphorus, or carbon. These reservoirs are important ecosystems as they are able to support plant and animal life and act as an important stage in a number of nutrient cycles. By the means of relating biogeochemical cycles to ecological reservoir environment, the hydrological cycle is far from exception, as water is a form of ecological reservoir, thus containing the anthropogenics or other chemicals caused by natural occurrence. The anthropogenic will be then discussed by my fellow members.
Anthropogenic effects are the negative effects on the environment that are caused by human activity. I will only focus on two: heavy rain and increased snowmelt. Heavy rain occurs when the upper atmosphere weakens due to greenhouse gases, causing the troposphere to become warmer. That causes the evaporation rates to increase. More evaporation is equals to more precipitation. Its effects are floods, destruction of infrastructures, diseases, and crop erosion. Increased snowmelt is caused by global warming. In this, the rivers and streams receive large amount of water, but it isn't balanced with the rate of evaporation. This affects the amount of fresh water available and can lead to the destruction of habitats and crops. Snowmelt's rate can also increase due to molen, which is a vertical shaft that is caused by melted water from the surface of the glacier. This is directly connected with sea level rising. The Le Chatelier principle can be seen in these effects, for it states that when any system at equilibrium for a long period of time is subjected to a change in concentration, temperature, volume, or pressure, the system changes to a new equilibrium, and this change partly counteracts the applied change. We can observe this in our environment, which is trying to adapt to the changes that are caused by human activities.
The human population has increased, so have our demands on the land. We need more food, and to make food, we need water. Irrigation is the artificial watering of land that does not get enough water through rainfall. The problem with irrigation is that it removes water from its natural source and often causes leaching and runoff where it is used. This removal of nutrients results in farmers using more fertilizers to keep their land productive, while the waterways become polluted. Deforestation is having a major impact on the water cycle. Normally, trees release water vapor when they transpire, producing a humidity. This water vapor evaporates into the atmosphere, precipitating back to the earth as rain. Deforestation means there is less water to be evaporated into the atmosphere and causes less rain. Therefore, the land becomes drier and less stable. It can cause droughts and flooding, impacting plants and animals and also human beings.
So now let's talk about an invasive species. An invasive species is an organism that is not indigenous or native to a particular area. Invasive species can cause great economic and environmental harm to a new area. These invasive species are among the top leading threats to native wildlife. Approximately 42% of threatened or endangered species are at risk due to these invasive species. human health, and economies are also at risk from invasive species. The impact of invasive species on our natural ecosystem and economy costs us billions of dollars each year. Many of our commercial, agricultural, and recreational activities depend on healthy native ecosystem. So, what makes a species so invasive? An invasive species can be any living organism, an amphibian, plant, insect, fish, fungus, bacteria, or even organism seeds or eggs that is not native to an ecosystem and causes harm. They can harm the environment, the economy, or even human health. These species that grow and reproduce quickly and spread aggressively with the potential to cause harm are given the label invasive. So, an invasive species does not have to come from another country. For example, lake trout are native to the Great Lakes, but it is considered to be an invasive species in Yellowstone Lake because they compete with the native cutthroat trout for that habitat. So, how do these species spread? Zebra mussels on propeller, shutterstock invasive species are primarily spread by human activities, often unintentionally. People in the good we use travel around the world very quickly and they often carry uninvited species with them. Ships can carry aquatic organisms in their ballast, while smaller boats may carry them on their propellers. Insects can get into the woods, shipping pallets and crates that are shipped around the world. Some ornament plants can escape into the wild and become invasive, and some invasive species are intentionally or accidentally released pets. For example, the Bernese pythons are becoming a big problem in the Everglades, and the rest will be discussed by my partner, Kyle.
In eradicating invasive species, officials have used a variety of methods to eradicate or get rid of invasive species. An example of this are the cats on Marian Island that were infected with a virus. Introducing insects can also be dangerous. However, sometimes insects can also damage other plant species and they become invasive species themselves. Chemicals have also been used to control invasive species, but they can sometimes harm non-invasive plants and animals. Here's what we can do about these invasive species. First, make sure that the plants we are buying from our homes or garden are not invasive. Contact your state's native plant society for a list of native plants. When boating, make sure to clean your boat thoroughly before putting it into a different body of water. Clean your boots before you hike in a new area. Don't take any don't take home any animals, plants, shells, firewood, or food from different ecosystems. Never release pets into the wild.
To climate change, the water condition in the ocean change. This significantly alters the condition of water, like increasing temperature and salinity. This changes harms the species that cannot survive in water with high temperature and high salt concentration. Species normally adapt by migration and dispersion, but in lentic and semi-lotic bodies of water, where it is surrounded by land, they cannot migrate. Instead, they adapt by changing their gene sequence. This shows that epigenetic plays a big role in the adaptation of species. The research of Kumar and Ridge, a plant known as Arabidopsis thaliana or tailcrest, adapt in high water temperature by histone modification. Second generation of this plant inherited the modification and shows tolerance in high water temperature. Another example are Daphnia or waterfalls, one of the species that are important in freshwater ecosystem. These species are food sources for the fish. In the research, it shows that when Daphnia is placed in a system with a stressor such as high water salinity, it adapts by DNA methylation.
Environment and genetics show a linkage that connect them. One way or another, the former is being affected by the latter, and it can be linked to epigenetics. Epigenetic mechanisms consist of potentially heritable changes in gene activity, functions, or expressions without altering the underlying DNA sequence. As we know, living beings on Earth are hypothesized to be adaptive to changes in nature in order to survive or cope up. Numerous environmental factors have been shown to influence epigenetic mechanisms. As epigenetic mechanisms can regulate gene expression, the consequence of a given environmental stress scenario can be a change in the phenotype. Individuals within a given natural population usually experience exposure to an environmental stressor at the same time. When a group of organisms is exposed to a certain stressor, The same epigenetically determined phenotypes are known to be consistently acquired.